Enviromax 60-second slot. Our planet's ecosystem balances delicately between...
Found at kalfound.org.
It's time for your weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo.
Hi, we are Aspiras RSO here at WMU, and we are a nonprofit organization based in the Dominican Republic. Our purpose is to raise awareness of the importance of volunteering, social responsibility, and to create an international mindset. We raise funds and donations that go towards low-income soccer clubs in the Dominican Republic, and we engage in volunteer activities for students. This semester, we're planning information sessions, clothing drives, and fundraising events. To find out how to get involved with us, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Aspiras Foundation, spelled ASPIRAS Foundation, or you can email us at info@aspirasfoundation.com.
This has been our weekly RSO Spotlight here on WIDR Kalamazoo. For more Spotlight coverage, head to Western Herald or Wybots Connect on Twitter. To find more information on how to spotlight your RSO, head to widrfm.org.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Hood Rat Strategist radio program. So, want to pivot now to some local shenanigans going on. I want to introduce Jen Strebs. Say hello out there to the listeners.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Jen's awesome. She kicks a lot of butt and takes a lot of names with Progressive Kalamazoo. And here to talk about a particular story going on. Always want to make sure, we talk a lot about international issues, and we also try to talk about local stuff as much as we can. So I'll go ahead and kind of introduce what I'm talking about. So at the January 17th, Kalamazoo County Board.
On 7th, yeah.
Oh, on the 7th. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's a typo in there. Yeah. County Commissioner Scott McGraw requested that an amendment be made to the board bylaws under the section titled Voting. McGraw and Dale Sugars asked that the following language be added. The votes of 2/3 of the members present or a majority of all the members elected and serving, whichever is greater, are required on final passage or adoption of a non-agenda item. That means any item not approved for the agenda by Dale Sugars will require 7 votes to pass, which is not so good for the current board majority, which is in the hands of the Dems. So, Jen, I don't know. Do you want to kind of talk about what does this mean? So, the Democratic majority sitting on our county board is going to need 2/3 majority to pass any resolutions. I could think of some reasons why this is bad, but you're a little bit more schooled on the issue. Do you want to explain a little bit more about why this is a red alert? This is not a good thing that's going on on our county commission.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andy. So the issue here is not only would it take 7 votes to pass any items, but even for issues to come up for debate or to come up for vote at all, we have to pass the thresholds of a 2/3 majority. So the chair of the county commission has been assumed by a really hard-line right-wing member of the commission, Commissioner Dale Sugars, and there is real concern that Mr. Sugars will basically obstruct any sort of progressive agenda items from even coming up to the floor. So not only are we even just talking about items passing or being able to be implemented, but we're just asking for people to be able to be heard on these issues. And without this, if this measure passes, really the voice of the people here will be oppressed. And we've seen power, at the federal and state levels of government are not within our control right now, and our local government is our last line of defense. We're looking at some really troubling things coming down from the federal government, and the one body that we have to take action to try to protect people is our local government, and this will cede the power out of the hands of the people on that level as well. So we have got to mobilize and stop this, or it's going to be a year before we even get to talk about issues that matter to progressive people.
Man, that I had no idea it was quite that bad. I thought it was basically just like a block towards voting for progressive measures. You're saying like people won't even be able to bring them up for discussion. Oof. Well, I know there's some progressive things on the pipeline that could be directly endangered by this. I know the other night we were talking about the county ID program, which that was a major victory for us. Could you explain to the people at home, like, how that could basically have the legs knocked out under it, and also just anybody at home who's not really aware of what the county ID program is, maybe just briefly summarize what that's all about?
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. So current initiative moving forward, trying to establish a municipal or county ID. This would be issued by the county government and would be an ID attainable for people who are unable to attain a formal photo identification now. So marginalized groups like the homeless population, undocumented immigrants, people who have come out of incarceration, former children of the foster care system, seniors with memory issues, people who have faced unexpected tragedies like fires where vital documents have been lost. All of these types of folks can struggle to obtain a photo ID. And without a photo ID, you can be limited from doing things like renting somewhere to live so that you're not sleeping out in the cold, from getting medication for your sick child at a pharmacy. So the county ID program would hope to address some of the barriers that these marginalized groups face to get ID. And we were able to move forward on that issue and have a task force appointed, and that task force is in the process of doing its work now to make a recommendation to the board. And that task force moved forward with a 10-1 vote. So every commissioner on both sides of the aisle was in support of that measure, except
Dale Sugars.
That's right, Andy. Except for the current chair, Dale Sugars, who would gain total control of setting future agendas. So this measure that we know he opposes, that we feel is vital for people in the community, will likely be able to be obstructed over and over again. Right now, if the chair doesn't want to put an item on the agenda, just a majority of commissioners could vote and say, well, you know what, we do want to talk about county ID. We're going to vote, and we want that added to tonight's agenda. But if the 2/3 rule passes on February the 7th, that opportunity will be gone.
So, what are we looking at right now? Do you think this 2/3 rule, is it likely to pass? And I guess where does it fall along partisan lines as far as like who's voting for what?
Well, we've heard commitments from a majority of the Democratic commissioners that they won't be supporting this change in the bylaws. We know that Commissioner Stephanie Moore is a Democrat on the commission, hasn't made a commitment about how she will vote on this issue. But we're encouraging progressives across the community and members of Progressive of Pro Kalamazoo to reach out to all of the commissioners, to contact them directly, to call them, to let them know not to support the measure. And we're asking people to show up on February the 7th to the meetings that will be held that night to again express opposition to this change.
Yeah, and I would also note, we try to be like nonpartisan, but we call out BS on the show. And from what I've seen, the Republican members of the board are kind of pushing this, and if and I'll be making my phone calls to them, telling them that it is a very bad strategy because frankly. The political environment you find yourself in today might not be the political environment you find yourself in tomorrow. And while, Dale Sugars, he might be the chair right now, so at some point in the future, there might be a progressive or a Democrat sitting in that seat. So if you put forth this idea that might entrench your power now, it could be used against you later on. I think that's definitely would be a good point to bring up if you're reaching out to your Republican commissioners, and also just these very self-serving kind of backroom political strategies do not really help the community as a whole. I would think it is a diversity of voices that really helps construct a community, and it seems like instead of actually trying to reach across the aisle and work together, they're playing like these sort of red team, blue team dagger games.
Yeah, I think that's very true, and I think that the chair signaled a move like this the night that he started his role as current chair, identifying that he really wasn't comfortable with any issues moving forward until the commission was at near unanimity on items. And we know that we live in a polarized world. As you mentioned, there are a diversity of perspectives and voices. And coming to 100% agreement on any issue means that the potential for that means that we don't take action on many things that need to be addressed. Do we find a solution that can suit everyone all the time through our politics? Of course we don't. But the idea of being a progressive person is that we work to move where we can and make progress when we can, whether that's by inches or by miles. We move where we can move, and this will stop us from doing that.
Yeah, that I think that is the really dangerous thing, because it isn't only we talked in specifically how this would affect the county ID law, but any sort of agenda or proposal moving forward is really going to get hamstrung by this rule if it passes.
I think it's important to note too that my understanding is the entire history of the county commission, the majority has always been sufficient to add items to the agenda. So this would be going against major precedent of the way that the local politics has typically operated.
Yeah, I wonder, have you heard, what is their argument for this? Do you know what it is, or are they just... a lot of times these things are kept elusive and they don't really offer a rationale for them. Because, I think part of it, too, is a lot of these local issues kind of get obscured. They don't really get covered, even in local media. But, is that something that has been directly asked them? What is their rationale for making this 2/3 rule?
I haven't heard a clear articulation about why, and I think that's why it would be really important for people in the community to show up to the meeting that's happening on February 7th, to pose that question directly to their commissioners and to ask for them to speak on that matter to them and to explain to their constituents, because people have a right to be informed about why the commission chooses to move if they do.
Okay, thank you. So you said February 7th, and if people want to find out more information about that, are you guys posting that on Progressive Kalamazoo or? Yeah. Okay.
So folks could go to the Pro Kazoo Facebook page and find event postings there. But on February 7th, there are two meetings that will occur, both in the Kalamazoo County Administration Building, and that address is 201 West Kalamazoo Avenue. The first meeting happens at 4 o'clock. It's on the second floor, room 207A. It's a conference room. It is open to the public. That will convene from 4 until about 5 o'clock. And then the commissioners will break. And then at 6 o'clock, the regularly scheduled county commission meeting will open in the main commission chambers. The vote on the issue could happen at either of these two meetings, so it's important people who can turn out for both.
Yeah, and I'll say this, but we've seen like this huge outgrowth of direct activism in the community. We had, I think, like about 200 people showed up on last Friday for the No Dapple demonstration. Tons of people showed up to the Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo Airport, stand in solidarity with the Muslim ban. There's projected to be, if the Facebook numbers prove true, there could be up to 1,000 folks in Bronson Park next Sunday for the rally against Islamophobia. So, I want to make sure, people, if you wish to engage in that sort of direct activism, these local issues, they affect us in a much more direct way than a lot of these national issues do. Not to say that, I think it's important to be very passionate and have solidarity with things like Standing Rock. I was there myself, and I'm the one who kind of put out the call to action for it. But, a lot of people in our community are very fearful of the Trump agenda. It's been what has been driving people towards engaging in that action. And if we want our own community to be that kind of beachhead against what's the nefarious things going on at the national level, we need to show that same sort of strength, that same sort of passion over these local issues that we show for the things that are going on nationally.
Absolutely. And I just want to point out to anybody listening, to obtain contact information for your specific Kalamazoo County Commissioner, you can find that online if you go to calcounty.com/board/commissioners.htm. That will provide you telephone numbers and email addresses and the district locations for all of the 11 serving commissioners.
Yeah. Well, you heard it right there. So, I'll make sure to... we always post our shows online, but I'll make sure to post this particular excerpt because this is very important, and I want to make sure this information gets out there to people. Let's see. We're going to... You know what I mean?